Hello. So, parents, did you know that the prefrontal cortex, like somewhere here behind is a prefrontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain is most affected by stress, especially in early childhood. Now, how is this connected to studies? Well, in early childhood, the prefrontal cortex is not developed so well. So therefore, maybe the child is very creative. He's asking questions, he's curious, and over the period, this develops, and then we are more into executive functions. We are able to think, we are able to concentrate, focus, we are able to have better behavioral self control, and so on. So we need to just keep in mind that the prefrontal cortex is affected by stress in early childhood. And the thing is, what happens is when the child is stressed, is highly stressed at an early childhood or a primary phase, it could be due to family fights, or it could be due to overcrowding, or it could be due to any simple issues, okay, extreme noise. However, when your child is stressed out, right? So when a child is highly stressed, it has been found that the child finds it difficult to concentrate on his studies. He finds it very difficult to sit at one place and work out. He finds it also very difficult to handle his emotions. He gets upset very fast, he throws tantrums, and so on. And also, it also basically, above all, it is hard for him to follow the directions. So if the teacher says sit down, the child is not able to, and it is not in his control, because basically the child has these cortisol or stress hormones which are working at his high levels. So how do we help? How do we help the child to perform better? How do we help the child to concentrate better, focus better? And this is it's not a medical issue. The answer lies with us parents. So there was this wonderful research which I would like to let you know about. A wonderful research was done by Michael Meany at McGill University. Now, he used to work a lot with rats. It has been found that the brain structure of the rat and that of humans is almost having a similar architecture. So he had a lot of rats in his cages, and each cage had one mother rat. The mother rat is called a dam. Okay? So a mother rat and some pups, or the babies, which are called pups. So each cage had a mother rat and a pups, mother rat pups. So what happens is, being a scientific lab, most of his team used to constantly take out the small babies to measure them, to see how their growth is, how their weight is, how their height is, and they constantly touch them and measure them, weigh them, and so on. But what happened is, they realized they found a curious thing. They found that when they take these pups or the baby rats, they measure them and they put them back in the cage. Now, as soon as they put the baby back in the cage, the mother rat or the dam will come running, scurrying towards the babies. She will come towards the babies and she will hug them, she will groom them, she will lick them constantly. She will lick and groom and all that. So they found that the stress hormones of the baby rats reduced a lot when the mother licked them and groomed them. And they were quite astonished. So what they did further is, they had two sets of rats. They split the rats into two parts. As in, the first group was called high LG. High LG basically meant that as soon as the babies were put back, the mother rat used to come and lick and groom, a lot of licking and grooming for the babies. And it was not necessarily, it has to be the same mother rat also. Any mother rat in the group. Any mother rat can come and lick the babies. And they used to come, groom the babies, lick the babies, and be around them. And that was one high-end, high LG group. In the other group, the mother did lick groom the baby, but not so much, just a little for the namesake, and she was not very responsive, and she didn't pay much attention to the whole process. So after 25 days or so, when the baby rats became big, they became independent. They found a huge difference between the high Lg rats and the low Lg rats. The high Lg rat babies, they were very brave. So when they get food, they realized that the high Lg rats ventured out. They were more brave, they were more experimental, they went a little ahead into the open field to search for food, and they were also very curious. These high Lg baby rats, they were also very good. They had good self-control, and they also could cross those mazes very well. And the low Lg rats, when they checked out, the low Lg rats, when they became big, they were a bit scared. They did not venture out into the field or out into the open in search of food. Even when food was placed close to them, they took some time, to approach it. They were not very curious. They preferred being in the back end. And above all, they didn't have much of self-control or could not cross many of those mazes. So this major difference came about with just that small gesture of licking and grooming constantly. So Blair also did this test, and he realized that basically stress releases his cortisol level hormones are high. And he found out that now this was adapted to the parenting and stress conditions. So they found out that when parents were very responsive to the child, it's not that only that particular problem after a child comes with a problem, but throughout the day, you are keeping a eagle's eye that okay, the child is doing some game, so you just say, very good, a ludo, or you help with a ludo move, or you're just around the child, and you're aware that the child is doing, and you're helping the child. You're responsive, you're responsive, and you're there for the child. And another group where the parents were not responsive, they found that in these two, the stress levels or the cortisol levels of the child varied a lot. The parenting, when it was more of being there for the child or responsive to the child was much secure. The child was much more, had a much stronger self-control, unlike the other. So basically, what this lets us know is that we need to be aware of our actions. It is only we who can help to reduce the stress our child is going through, be it at school due to peer pressure or work pressure or study pressure, or be it for other adaptations, because the child is constantly learning and adapting. We are not aware as to clearly what is he going through. Like at least it's very clear for us that look, we have office pressure and we have work pressure or home pressure. But for a child, we are not sure what pressure the child is going through. So we just need to be kind and patient and loving at all times so that we can take that stress from him and let him succeed and be happy. So I hope this was of interest to you. Thank you. If you have any wonderful suggestions to share, I would definitely love to read it in your comments. Or if you have any other action points, it would be great, so that we can together help every child succeed. Thank you. Have a great day.